Hi guys. Today we are going to attempt something kind of fun and interesting. We're making a kind of like a baklava hack, but if I say that, then all of my Greek friends will probably be really angry at me. So let's not call it that. So you're going to take this phyllo dough, how do you pronounce it? Because this is still kind of frozen, it's already coming out in sections, which is great because you want to do this with it. So you want to take a couple of sheets, you're gonna roll them up, scrunch them up like that. Like, you know how like with like regular baklava, you have to have each layer of phyllo dough and then you have to put butter in between each layer? Well, this like avoids you having to do that because each layer is already kind of exposed. And because of that, you can also make this like not super pretty in the beginning. Like all you have to do is just kind of crunch this up in layers. So even if your phyllo dough ends up looking like this, you can still make it work. Just take a couple of sheets at a time, scrunch them up. You don't necessarily want to do like one sheet at a time because that's almost too thin. So 2 sheets at a time is great. Ooh. Being out here in the desert means you have to work with this phyllo dough pretty quickly because it's already so dry. If you're in a much more humid place, it might be a little bit better for you. This is a 13 by 9 pan, I think. 1 box of phyllo dough should do the whole pan. So this is going to take a little bit of a minute to assemble, but look, it's kind of fun to assemble pastries like this, where everything's kind of falling apart, but it's still going to turn out okay in the long run. So take a couple of sheets. Like this is one of my biggest problems when I make like traditional baklava, because you end up with this. And traditional baklava, you need to have these like really pretty layers that are all layered on top of each other. So look, if you have a box of phyllo dough that's already crumbled, or you're living in like a dry climate where working with phyllo dough sheet by sheet is a little bit complicated, I think you'll get a kick out of this recipe. Just as long as you're not dumping this whole thing in, this is gonna turn out just fine. Ooh. A little bit more, and trust me, this is the most time-consuming part of this entire recipe. As this phyllo dough starts crumbling on me more and more, but that's the fun, tasty part about phyllo, right? It's supposed to be light. separate these layers just a little bit. These as well. Okay, and now we have this kind of messy phyllo dough in a baking dish kind of thing going on. And we are going to be adding, this is 2 whole sticks of butter. So it's a cup of melted butter. Yes, I know it's a lot of butter, but this is for a big dessert. And this is what you're doing. Instead of putting the phyllo dough in between each layer and trying to make sure that the phyllo is nice and clean and flat and isn't falling apart, you're going to douse it with butter this way instead. Now this goes into a 350-degree oven for about 10 minutes, but don't go away just yet because we're going to be making a custard that goes on top of this once it comes out. Okay, so I'm just using the same cup measurement that I used for the butter, but we're having 1 cup of just milk in here. I'm using regular milk because it needs to be a custard. I don't know if all milks turn into custards, so if you have experience using like an almond milk or whatever, that's fine to use instead. These are just 2 eggs. I'm gonna mix in. I'm just making kind of like a traditional custard. Super easy. So it's a cup of milk, 2 eggs, splash of vanilla. I say measure with your heart when it comes to like vanilla. I like a very, very vanilla-y custard. And then we're going to be adding 1 cup of just regular granulated sugar. And I've got a 1/2 cup measurement, so 1/2 cup. And 2 cups. And I know this is a baked recipe, but this is a custard, so if you are a little bit lower on your sugar or higher on your sugar, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be super exact. And in fact, if you want to use an artificial sweetener here, you probably can, because it's the eggs and the milk that's going to cause the custarding, not the sugar. Okay, and that is our super, super easy custard. This is going to get poured all over our phyllo dough when it comes out of the oven in about 10 minutes. So we'll come back and I'll show you how to do that. Ooh, look at, it's like this buttery phyllo dough awesomeness. Just got out of the oven after 10 minutes, just to dry it out a little bit. And I've got this gorgeous custard with milk, eggs, vanilla, and sugar. And you're just gonna pour this all over the top. Did you know that there's a hack that if you just put like whatever utensil is next to your bowl, it won't pour everywhere because it'll just follow the spoon. Also, it'll prevent your bowl from tipping over completely. So, just make sure, ooh, hear it crunching already. And then this is gonna go back into the 350-degree oven, and this is actually going to bake for ½ an hour so that this custard can set. Then we'll add a little bit of topping and do a taste test. So we'll be right back. Ooh, it looks so gorgeous. She is so pretty. I can't pick this up because I just brought this out of the oven, and for good reason, because we're actually going to be adding a couple of toppings. You get some of these chopped walnuts. We don't want the whole ones. You can also use pistachios because we're kind of mimicking a baklava. And then the reason why I have to do this when it comes straight out of the oven is because we're going to be adding some honey, little bear, But you want to pour this on while the pastry is hot so that the honey will melt. And there's no honey on the inside of this, just the top. So you can be a little bit generous, but not too much. Remember that custard is kind of sweet as well. But look, I only used half of Mr. Bear's head. Okay, so normally I would let this cool, but I am going to do a taste test. Take a tiny corner. As you know, I love my corners. Oh, it looks so good. It's like crunchy. I would get a larger piece, but it is so hot, and I know that I'm going to be burning my mouth off. So I'm just gonna. I hear that? Wait. It's like crunchy. Ooh. My hand's shaking because I don't want to burn my mouth. One more. Okay. Hot, which I knew, but holy moly, it's like a baklava and a custard pie had a baby. It's warm, little crunchy, flaky pieces. Got that custard in there. So good. We are going to be donating the rest of this to our local community. As you know, that's what we do here at the kitchen, is we make these dishes and then we donate them to the community for people who are in need. I think that they're going to absolutely love this. If you make this at home, you're going to be the hit of the party or the dinner or the event. Cool these off, cut these into diamonds or squares, and you can have them for bake sales or some fun little new treat to put in someone's lunchbox. I hope you like watching this, and I hope you give this a shot.